there was a close game last night in OKC. And
Or was close.
it was a 1-point game. Luka drives to the basket, makes a pretty damn good shot in traffic. And then you see him it appears to be barking towards the sidelines, towards the bench, to the crowd perhaps.
He put him up 108 to 107 at that point.
And all of a sudden, whistle blows, he gets teed up, second one, out. And you see the Lakers and J.J. Redick looking like, what? LeBron helping plead the case. He's saying that he barked at a fan. The ref seemed like he was fed up. What is your initial take? Is your initial take that when the refs and officials, their ego gets in the way where getting it right takes a backseat to their feelings?
So here's the thing. We often take one side when it comes to sports talk radio especially. But the truth is there's more than one side to this, right? Because I do see hey, the fans aren't here to see the ref throw out the biggest star in the game. That's not what you're paying crazy amounts of money to see. Especially when you got kids there and they're like, oh, Luka, especially in a meaningful game. And a game that matters.
You've seen this in baseball as well, where a Bryce Harper, a star player, might get a little chippy, and the umpire, you're out of here.
But at the same time, you have to have the wherewithal as a superstar to know that you're one call away from being out of the game. So, you got to acknowledge that too. And you're going to let, as Ben Maller said, your boy Ben Maller went off on Luka, Danny G. I know it's your boy, too. That must be weird because Danny G's the biggest Lakers fan, and Ben Maller hates on the Lakers, and they're good pals.
Yeah, we talk about it on the Fifth Hour podcast every weekend, but I laugh about it because Ben just has a very unhealthy infatuation with the Lakers. He is definitely a closet Lakers fan.
He was like, Luka is a baby who's crying and thrown out of the game because some guy in a bolo tie got under his baby's skin. You're going to let a guy wearing a bolo tie in the stands.
Yeah.
And it's so true. It's like, yes, I hate that the refs threw him out of the game. Meaningful game. People are there to see him, not you. But come on, dude. You got to be better than that.
Cove, I understand that point. And
so
had he gotten into it with that ref right there, I could understand that. But as a player, if you're responding to a fan that's been chirping at you, in your mind, are you thinking, I'm going to get a tech for this?
No, but he's clearly rubbing the referees wrong, right? It's not his first time that he's having a problem or crying to the refs. And my point here is simply that two things could be true. And I think there's little truth to both of those things, Rich. Your take where the refs, they're going a little overboard.
I think when a ref or an official or an umpire makes it about them and their feelings being hurt or you overstepped, that's not the point. You're there to officiate the game. The game is still about the fans going there to see the star players and the game be played. And I think there's a pride in letting something be overturned. I remember there was a play at a Yankees game. You remember this clearly. I'm sure you're a Yankees fan. Aaron Boone was chirping at the umpire, and the umpire's like, one more word out of you, Booney, and you're out of here. One pitch later, someone in the stands is like, bad call, Blue. The umpire turns around. He's like, Boone, out. And he's like, he didn't say a word.
and you read the ventriloquist. He threw his voice. The fan threw his voice at Boone.
But I'm saying,
you
can imagine the John Boy breakdown of Booney saying, I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything. And he comes storming out of the dugout. And here's the other side, Rich, that you and I talked about earlier today.
To wrap up that point, though, I think you have to be able to then maybe correct yourself. So if there was evidence in any fashion that, all right, let's go to, they replay fouls, they replay things. What if they go, you know what, let me take a look at the tape. If Luka, if LeBron and J.J. Redick and everyone's like, no, ref, you got it wrong, I promise you.
Yeah, why does it have to be a final call in stone?
They're not Judge Judy. They're not the Judge Ito.
I here declare in stone.
And that well-known OKC fan admitted, they talked to him after the game, and he admitted that, Luka was chirping back at me, and the refs could have got that mistaken, but he was talking to me.
That's wild. And by the way, I was saying, you said you have LeBron and Luka talking about this after the game. Where do we want to start? Let's start with Luka himself.
You can see it that happened, but I never got a fan ejected, never. But if he's gonna talk, I'm gonna talk back like always. So that had nothing to do with the refs. So I didn't really understand.
He didn't understand. It had nothing to do with the refs. And here's LeBron James.
It was a weird couple minutes after that, starting with the ejection. I don't know why the ref was taking it personal. He had already gave Luka one, and Luka knew that. And Luka was going back and forth at that time with a fan that was sitting courtside, like Luka does when fans get to talk out of their mind, whatever the case may be. And Luka was going back and forth, and the ref took it upon himself to think it was, verse him or whatever the case may be. But then another tee on Vando after a block shot. And the game was just weird as hell after that moment.
Weird as hell.
Yeah, but you can't fly off the handle all the time, and you don't want that sort of reputation to be with you in these crucial moments. And there is the flip side to the story, too, where, as I gave credit to him before, the great Ben Maller, we are now starting to see why Nico Harrison made the right move, because he's saying he's uncoachable baby.
Stop it.
But, again, your reputation sometimes precedes yourself. And I think if he wasn't crying all the time and rubbing the refs wrong, they wouldn't have been quick to toss him.
I'm with Covino on this because he wouldn't have got tossed if he didn't have the first technical. It only would have been his first technical of the game. It was because it was the second one that he got tossed. By the way, Dave McMenamin covers the NBA and the Lakers for ESPN, reports that the NBA has notified the Lakers they've rescinded the second technical against Luka from last night's game.
Too little, too late.
Glad
Right? Exactly. Right?
Yeah, and I'm glad DB pointed to that first tee because it's telling what Vando said about it. He said that he thought he got fouled. This was when Luka was arguing about Vando getting fouled on that first tee. He says, I did get slapped across the head. That's what Luka was telling the ref. He told him what happened, and the ref told Luka, I'll talk to anybody but you, Luka. So it seemed a little personal at that point, and he teed him up.
So wait, you're saying the NBA has said we take it back?
The second one.
Rescinded the second one.
To quote the great Robbie Hart, that's information I could have used yesterday.
Yeah, one Lakers loss later. It doesn't really matter
maybe
much.
can we go back to the fourth quarter then?
But I think Covino's point is still true, though. Like, just if it's followed him everywhere, it obviously followed him from Dallas to L.A., you got to tone it down a little bit because otherwise you get caught in these situations where you do chirp and people think like the reputation preceded him in this situation.
Yeah, and two things can be true, Rich. I do agree that the refs, they get on a power trip sometimes, and it's annoying for the fans. And it's annoying as a basketball fan because you don't get to see the true outcome of the game. It's a meaningful game. So I see all the sides here. Two things can be true. We often take one side here when it comes to sports talk.
Can I throw a fun ref umpire nugget in here? There was a trend that maybe began, which is why they shut it down immediately, in spring training this year before the MLB season kicked off. What were they sampling in the preseason, in spring training?
Oh, the strike zone call.
Right, you could
challenging the strike. Tap your helmet.
They made it very clear that if you do that in the regular season, it's a sneak diss at the ump. So, like, let's say Aaron Judge is like, that was outside. Even though it doesn't matter, if he jokingly is like, tap, tap, that is
automatic.
That's like equally being mouthy. Like, because you're showing up the umpire, doing the little tap of your helmet is your subconscious way of being like, BS.
Well, even on the lowest of levels, you coach Pony League baseball and girls softball.
Yeah.
Isn't there an unwritten rule where a parent can't talk back to the umpire?
Not even a word.
So on the lowest of levels, if the kids know and the parents know, everybody knows in the lowest of levels that it is what it is.
No, you can't even do
when Luke already has one on him, he has to zip it up a little bit in these crucial moments.
No, it's even
It's a
questionable.
learning lesson moving forward, man.
There was a warning email that went out. This can't just be the kid sports I coach. There was a warning to the parents and the coaches that if a ball is called, you can't even be like, don't worry, Sophia, great pitch. Like, you can't
it's like
even
a zero tolerance thing, right?
Like, you can't even insinuate like, do that again, honey. That was a strike. Like, you cannot even insinuate that the umpire got it wrong in kid sports.
So if you just joined us, Rich is saying that the ref's ego, that's what he said in the pre-show meeting, the ref's ego killed a great game.
Yeah. The ego.
But at the same time, you have to acknowledge that Luka's reputation may have preceded himself here in this situation.
As you said, I agree with you. Multiple things can be right at the same time. And I think that there's nothing wrong with getting it right. That's why replay has entered the world of sports, basketball, baseball, NFL, college football, everything. Because we want to get it right, correct? Don't we want to get the call right? So in that instance, if everyone on that Lakers bench, including the victim himself, Luka, was like, I'm telling you, you got it wrong. What is the harm? Sometimes you see him at that scorer's table for a minute or so looking if a ball's inbounded or goes off of someone. You couldn't have taken the 30 seconds to look who Luka was addressing? You know there's 100 cameras.